guys hear any crickets out here? I think I hear some outside, but none in here. Anyway, I'm sure they'll find their way in. So, I got my wiring harness this morning. So, after everything, I tossed in the brand new wiring harness. Here's Bernie Boy, and this is the box that the new boy came in. So, I actually redid a bunch of the wiring in the car. Like I said, I wanted to get away from this, where the wiring harness is coming through this hole in the firewall down there, this big empty boy now. And now everything is coming through the fender well. Oh man, it's hard to see. What I got a light for you guys or what? What do I got down here? We got stuff everywhere, but okay. Let's grab a Larry. Oh no. Yeah, there we go. Anywho, like I said, I wanted to do was move the harness. Oh man. So now there's nothing coming through this giant hole. And now everything is coming through this one in the fender well, which I want to do maybe a splash guard and some more zippy ties, obviously. But everything is connected, and I started the car and ran it. Imagine that. Maybe we'll toss a little clip of that. I fired it and idled it. It had no belt. The alternator wasn't hooked up. The flex fuel sensor wasn't hooked up. I moved the flex fuel sensor to the engine bay on the after the rail part of the feed, not on the return. The flex fuel sensor was all the way back at the fuel cell prior. I did a little bit of rewiring in the car in an attempt to just do a cleanup. Now everything is mounted and out of the way. Before I just tossed everything in that giant grommet and laid it on the floor. It does start and run. Oil pressure is good. Everything else is good. All I need to do is verify my fan is connected correctly. That was one of the things that wasn't turning on that I ended up not wiring. I cut all the wires again, like I said, and I redid everything just to clean a bunch of stuff up. So, got to make sure the fan wiring works, and then put the dash back in. But the car does run. It has good oil pressure. It's quiet. It's smooth. It's idling, but it was starting to get hot because the fan wasn't coming on. So, that was my biggest thing. I did swap my coils. That is one of the things we're going over. Got to put the charge pipe in. A bunch of small things. Make sure my bump, brake, all my other buttons, whatever I have power-wise works. I talked about this, and I have one of these in the mail. The wiring harness is completely melted for my Mac valve, but Felix Hamilton, awesome bro that he is, on the sloppy page, had a similar thing happen where a guy ruined his 4-port Mac harness, and he bought like 50 connectors off eBay. I was looking at the same thing, basically, and he's like, I have 50, I'm never going to use them. So I told him I'd buy 10 from him. So they're in the mail on the way. The oil lines, the feed and drain look okay. There really wasn't any leaks. I want to go over a certain number of other things. Since I moved the wiring, my fuel level sending unit and my transmission temp are not hooked up. They're laying under the car. I haven't moved them yet to the correct fender location. The other thing I ran into was my fuel level seems to not go below 60%. Not a huge deal on a race car, but I'd like to maybe replace the sending unit, or just that I know that it won't go below 60. I might take it apart and see if it's hung up or dirty, because it's one of those canister style. It's this guy right here. Oh, I got a parachute mount from my buddy Mean Mike Fab. Mean Mike Fab, ladies and gentlemen. This is he made this parachute mount for Cameron Powers, and it fit perfectly on my car, so I just got to drill and put a bolt in and buy a chute. So, anybody got a chute laying around they want to sell or anything? But anyway, this guy is either stuck or bad, because it does not read below like 60-some%. So the ohmage isn't working on that. Just got to put the dash in. Really, just small things, get it running. And then, like I said, I got to mark the balancer, check the timing, warm it up a bunch of times, maybe check compression, limit the dwell in the tune. I already swapped to the coils that don't auto fire. Yeah, all the small stuff, obviously. Check all the fluids 3 times. Mount this thing's just hanging out in the midair. So got to zip tie that and a bunch of other things, but doing really good. Otherwise, fuel pressure isn't hooked up. Oil pressure was good. Everything's doing good. The car fired. I didn't even think it would fire. I was like, bloop, and it fired. I was like, whoa, okay. So yeah, small stuff. Other than that, it is running. Everything else is good. The wideband is still working. You know, just I'm gonna let it run for a few days, and then hopefully we'll get it on the dyno in the next couple days and stress test it. And then there are rentals coming up again, but I don't want to be that guy again. So ultimately, hopefully, everything is okay with this after all of the checks and hand waving in front of it. Should be good to go. Should be ready to go. Let's see how it goes.